Hello, my name is Jay and this is going to be the first in a series of 5 videos where I'll be sharing advice for writers with ADHD. I'm a creative writing student. I'm currently in the 3rd and final year of my degree. I was diagnosed with ADHD in the 2nd year of my degree. I don't have any kind of medical or counselling background. All of the advice and tips I'm going to be sharing is just based off my own personal experience and then some conversations with other ADHD writers. In the description, I'll leave some links to ADHD organizations and charities if you want any actual medical professional information on the condition. And I'll also be leaving a link to a mental health charity. If at any point these videos become stressful to you or upsetting, I recommend just pausing, going to check out the link, and maybe just doing something nice to take care of yourself. So without further ado, let's get started on our first topic, which is the writing desk. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing a lot of exercises and tips to hopefully help you build a good writing routine and make progress on your projects. But I think the first step to that is having a good writing space. If you want to write every day, having a space for it really does make a big difference. That being said, don't feel chained to your writing space. I think if you're ever feeling stuck or have some writer's block, just going out and writing in different rooms of your house, or if you're somewhere where it's safe and legal, currently cafes or libraries, can really help refresh your routine. But I still like to have a dedicated space where it's kind of my home base, all of my writing equipment is there, and when I'm sitting here, it's time to write. So find a desk in your house, stick a lamp in your cupboard, throw your family out of the kitchen for the afternoon, whatever works best for you, and that's your writing space. Now, we need to get that space organized. I'm going to be going over some pretty basic rules and ideas about organization. And before we start, I just want to say that I really hope none of this comes across as condescending to anyone. If this stuff seemed obvious to you, then that's great. There'll be some timestamps in the description, so if any section doesn't seem relevant, you can just skip over it. But absolutely none of this was obvious to me. I'm 21 and I feel like I'm only just starting to get a vague grasp of organization. So here's the really fundamental thing about organizing that I just never understood. I realized it last year and it genuinely changed my life. Organization is supposed to make your life easier. If you're organizing in a way that's making things more complicated for you, you're doing something wrong. I always treated organization like it was an aesthetic choice. You know, something is organized if it looks neat and orderly. In reality, a system is organized when it's efficient and easy for you to use. Sorting out your writing space isn't about making it look like a place where a writer would work. It's about eliminating distractions as much as possible so that you can focus on what you really want to do, which is writing, not spending 15 minutes trying to dig out a pen. I'm going to be breaking down how I like to set up my writing space in what might seem like an unnecessary amount of detail, just because I've read so many study guides where they kind of just say, set up your writing space, and then don't elaborate, and then I'm just more overwhelmed than I was when I started. So if your desk looks something like this currently, just follow along with me step by step, and by the end we'll have a nice, clean, calm space to write. So first, we deal with the piles. Creating piles just seems to be the ADHD way, but the problem with piles is that they always seem to gradually morph from several discrete piles into one amorphous mega pile. So to start off with, we're going to separate these back out into multiple piles. I find it easiest to sort them out based on where I'm going to put them away. So books go on a bookshelf, so they get one pile. All the pens live together, so they get one pile. Anything that doesn't belong in the room you have your writing space, give it its own pile, so then you can take everything out in one. If you find anything on your desk that doesn't have a home, make it one, just don't overthink it. Steal a cup for your pens. Windowsills can make good bookshelves, anywhere that seems logical. So from here, you can organize stuff further. You know, you could do a big KonMari, you can alphabetize your books, color code your pens, but you don't have to. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself once I got to this stage to like hyper organize everything, but I'd end up getting so stressed out about that I just put off the whole task for months until the desk got messier than it was to begin with. So it's okay to cut corners sometimes. If there's a really complicated multi-step task where you find yourself like procrastinating one particular stage to the point where the whole task becomes unbearable to you, just try and figure out if it's okay to skip that stage. Remember what I said, organizing is supposed to make your life easier. With every step, just ask yourself, will this actually make things easier for me? So for me, alphabetizing my books does absolutely nothing, and it actually makes things harder to find for me and is a massive drain of time. So there's no point in doing it. But I do find organizing them just roughly by subject, fiction or non-fiction, actually does make a big difference. It's not about what looks organized or what other people do to organize. It is just about what works best for you. Now, just put everything in its home. Books go on bookshelf. Pens go in their pen cup. Paper, file it. Anything that's out of the room, take it away. Give your desk a nice little wipe down. And then, yay, we have a clean desk. Now we need to put some things back on the desk. There isn't really one perfect way to do this, especially when you're neurodivergent, but a good rule of thumb to follow is, if you use it every day, leave it where you can see it. If you don't use it every day, put it away. Personally, I find that if I put something away in a drawer, I will just forget that it exists. Sometimes there's this pressure to put everything away after you're done using it, just so that things look neater. And if you're sharing your workspace with someone else, then yeah, you probably shouldn't leave all of your stuff out. But what's the point of putting things away that you're just going to have to take out again tomorrow? Make sure the things that you use in your day-to-day writing are easy to access. What you need will probably vary on the kind of writing that you're doing. Like, I'm a UD student, so I need post-its and highlighters to survive. But, if all you need is a pen and notebook, then that's all that you need to leave out. If it's something that you're not going to use every day, like a reference book or a stapler, I'd recommend putting it away somewhere but keeping it close by. It can be easy to overwhelm yourself if your space is overcrowded, so do try and keep things simple. That being said, don't be afraid to put nice things around your desk. Making it a super intimidating, serious workspace just makes me miserable. So I've got some pictures of my friends up and some nice decorations. Just make it somewhere nice for you to be. You could give yourself a snack drawer with special snacks. I find sour apple rings to be a particularly good motivator. Although if you end up finding any of your decoration is distracting you, you should probably remove it. It can take some time to figure out the right balance of pleasant to be here, but not so pleasant that I'm going to stare at this poster for the whole time I'm meant to be writing. Which brings me nicely to my next point. Don't be afraid of trial and error. Figuring out a setup that works for you can take some time, and if you have ADHD, you might need to continually change the setup of your space to keep yourself interested. Your organized desk probably won't stay organized all the time. Odds are the jumble will overtake you at some point. But when that happens, just try not to blame yourself for it. Take a step back and try and figure out what the issue is. When my desk becomes a complete bomb site, it's a pretty good indicator that I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of work I have right now and I need to take a day to reset and relax. Try and figure out if there's a particular type of object that keeps piling up and figure out if you have a home for it and is that home really working? If your space is starting to get boring or frustrating to you, even just going and working in different rooms of the house can make a really big difference. And then when you come back to writing in your space, it just feels new again. I've gotten a lot, and I mean a lot better at organizing myself and staying organized over the past year. And I think one of the biggest differences is that now when the mess starts to overtake me again, I don't get angry at myself. I try and keep reminding myself that getting organized is supposed to make things easier for me. It's something that I do for myself. So being mean to myself about organization kind of defeats the whole point of it in the first place. Figuring out a setup that works for you is a process that can take a while. And if you have ADHD, then it's possible that you'll need to keep continually changing your workspace just to keep yourself interested. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be going through a lot of techniques and strategies to help you build a writing routine, to organize your notes, and to edit your work. And now hopefully you should have a nice place where you can work through those things with me. This video is part of a project for my final year of uni that I will be assessed on. So if you have any feedback, good or bad, that you'd be okay with me sharing with my tutors as part of the evidence for my assessment, I'd be very grateful if you could email them to the address in the description. Also, if this video has helped in any way at all, like if you've organized your space based on the advice I've given, you could email me a picture. That would help me out a lot with the assessment and also just mean a lot to me, and I really would love to see it. I really hope you join me next week when we'll be talking even more about organization and planning. Have a great time until then. Bye. Thank you so...
There's the post-it note background.
Was it there for the whole time?
Probably. To be fair, I should have called it, but we've been shooting for over 30 minutes. So...
This is proof that... I don't know what it's proof of.
This is proof that...
I meant to be being kind to myself about this. That's why I'm not reshooting that whole outro just because they're supposed to know. ADHD happens. Some days the ADHD wins and you organise your whole desk and film it, and then you still have a crumpled up post-it note in the outro.